and it wasn't there before. But we will use that new standard to judge old behavior, and that's not reasonable. A nuclear winter. Interesting, because the article goes on to note that numerous other State Department and other government officials have used private email accounts partially or exclusively, including Secretary of State Colin Powell, who only used a personal email account. Mrs. Clinton is not the first government official or first Secretary of State to use personal email account on which to conduct official business. As far as the law goes, unless she shared sensitive information, I don't think she's going to be found guilty of anything. And I think Republicans should be careful here about how hard they blow this trumpet. Because if it turns out that there was no real offense, and you latch onto this like you latched onto Benghazi, that'll cost you in a vacuum that you create. Oh, so you're attacking her for that, and that turned out to be nothing really. So is that the best you got? That's what people are thinking. Swing voters are thinking. They're looking at this now. So if I were a Republican and I was heading up a Republican, attack commission on Hillary, I would say this is an example of irresponsible communication habits, and I would leave it at that. Because if you think about it, there's plenty to go after regarding Hillary and the Clintons that do not involve a shaky, unstable process of email communication security. All right? So you want to leave that down low. Let it grow its own legs. If you're on a Republican headhunting committee here, let it grow its own legs if it will. But don't put too much steam into it, because that's going to be seen as your high mark. These contributions from foreign governments, again, who do you know among rich people that has an organization in which they are incredibly careful about who donates to that organization? Even so, coming from, let's say, seriously, let's just go deep here. Let's just say Al-Qaeda donated to her organization, but did it under someone else's name. And because they weren't scrutinized enough, nobody knew until now this report comes out. Is she guilty? How much do you know about people that give to everyone else's foundations? Nobody gave a shit till now. Nobody cared. Argentina giving to her foundation. You got to be careful on which battles you pick, because what it has the effect of, if you're on the Republican side, is crying wolf. That's what it does. It numbs people. Oh, they're attacking her over this. Oh, they're attacking her over that. Save your big guns for the big issues. And there are plenty there. I mean, on both sides. You can go after Republican or Democrats or independents on some pretty heavy shit. And if you decide to get really crazy and get like some private investigators at work, you could probably get some dirty shit on them. Yeah, people tend to do dirty things when they think nobody's looking. Ask Apocalypse. He'll tell you about that. All right. Well, I don't know if any of you fuckers are going to be Skyping in. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about some more issues here. This article about the federal regulations, what parts of it were broken and which weren't. This is what you got to consider. This federal regulation went into effect in late November 2014. Okay, this was when Obama signed H.R. 1233, which modernizing the Federal Records Act of 1950 to include electronic communications. It was signed 2 years after Clinton stepped down. So, the first statutory change in the law, since it was passed in 1951, confirms that federal electronic records will be transferred to the National Archives in electronic form. And I believe they give you 20 days to do that. 2, grants the archivist of the United States final determination as to what constitutes a federal record. 3, authorizes the early transfer of permanent electronic federal and presidential records to the National Archives while legal custody remains with the agency or the president. 4, clarifies the responsibilities of federal government officials when using non-government email systems. 5, empowers the National Archives to safeguard original and classified records from unauthorized removal. And finally, codifies procedures by which former and incumbent presidents review presidential records for constitutional privileges rather than relying on an executive order that may change under future presidential administrations, which I think is a good idea. You need this law in black and white, and it needs to be permanent. But nobody cared before. Nobody cared before. How come there weren't reporters, even from the right, going after Hillary knowing that so many people had received email from her. I mean, they just turned over 55,000 pages of emails. Knowing that so many people, including people on the right, would have received email from, what is it, HRC22 at HillaryClinton.com. Honestly, you knew it wasn't a government email, and now they're interested in it. It just seems like I wouldn't put much into this, folks. My powers of prediction are relatively strong. I don't see this going anywhere. This will not even get the type of steam that a Benghazi picked up. But there will be other things that come out about the Clintons that will gain steam, and they'll have an impact. I honestly don't think she's going to find a way to lose this election unless she really fucks up, or they really get some good dirt on her, because the competition isn't that strong. But I could be wrong. Ask me that question again in a year, and we'll talk about it. Too early right now, but the popular consensus is that she has so much steam built up that nothing's going to stop that train. So we'll see. We'll see how the Republican hit people do, you know. Let me check back in chat and see what you freak-defied phonics are doing. Kierstead sent Benghazi. I did. I heard your last couple of shows, by the way, APOC. You seem like you had some kind of hyper-energetic spaz condition. What's up with that, APOC? Where are you getting energy, man? Share the drugs. What's up? Seriously. Yeah, well, you know, APOC gets screenshots of shit that happens in chat, and you cannot escape them. And that's right, Aaron. The truth shall set you free. But selective outrage, when interpreting the importance of that truth, is going to keep you in a prison in your mind, Neo. And only you can break free from that. And the way you do that is to figure out what information really matters and why it matters, instead of coming into a situation saying, I support the left or right, so fuck everybody else. That's just, I hope we change our thinking model and get away from party lines and get into policy behaviors. I think that's where you win with politicians. I'm not that interested in who's at the head of a given position in our government, because I know that, and you know, if you think about it, that money is going to drive action. Money always drives action. And which means big business is going to steer the direction of this country unless you get some weird grassroots type of campaign started against something that's in the interest of big business, and that gets, say, a lot of private funding. Then you can start to introduce new things that may not be perfectly in line with what big business in America wants to happen. And money is going to drive the car, folks. It's going to be the driver. And how can you ever get past that? I mean, can you imagine an American watching some sort of hate campaign, a well-made advertising campaign that just does this political assault on somebody, and not being affected by it because they're truly objective in their reasoning and realizing what they're watching? It works on us. That's why they do it. That's why they do it. That's how John Kerry got Swift voted. We're pretty soft psychologically. We're very malleable. We can be shaped, and they know that. I don't know what would be better. I mean, can you imagine if we were all perfectly logical and reasonable in our thinking? And we would be just like computers. It would be so boring. It would certainly be a better world. I mean, I think that's why they depict aliens a lot in these movies and stories as so far advanced from us that they've lost all flavor. You know, they've got no style. It's just, this is the right way to do it. This is what we will do. You poor human, you still behave like a skunk. There you go. Aaron says, fuck the paradigm. Break out of it, people. Break out of it. Get into reason, logic, critical thinking. Get into facts. Make people prove to you why something is a good idea or isn't. When you hear some new policy coming into play, Adam Carolla was talking yesterday or today about something I already told you guys 6 months ago. And he's acting like it's some new shit. I said, when and if Hillary gets in, we don't know if she will. I want to see what kind of dirt they can really dig up. Let's say she gets in. We are looking at a sex battle royale in America. I told you this on 2 previous shows, how every household that has a woman and a man is going to become divided on some issue. Hillary's going to say something, the man's going to say something, the woman's going to take it as disrespect towards women, the argument begins. And Adam Carolla comes on and says, well, if you thought race was big now, wait till you see the battle of the sexes if Hillary gets elected. Old news, people. I told you that. I already told you that was coming. And it is. I mean, that's going to be, race is going to take a back seat if Hillary gets in, and we're going to be talking about men versus women. These are going to become very key component issues. And it's weird that the race or sex of an individual in a strong position suddenly becomes the sole narrator of where the public discussion goes. What a strange thing. They're not even doing it. Obama didn't come in trying to talk about black people. Hillary's not going to come in trying to talk about women. But that's exactly where the narrative is going to go. What a strange thing. This person is at the head, therefore we must talk about what makes them different. And then talk about that idea stretched out into a generalization. I don't know where it's going to go. Mike Goofy Faggot Mazza. Oh. Well, yeah, okay. I mean, that's all subjective. You can say he swift-boated himself. He committed the behaviors he committed, and some of those behaviors were brought to light. The truth is that he served honorably in defense of your country in a wartime situation. And the whole swift-boat thing is, again, putting something under a microscope to serve your purpose. And the truth is that, they could have essentially swift-boated Bush you hear about some of the stories that happened with him in college. You hear about his failure to show up for military duty while he was in the Guard. It seems to me like certain campaigns focus less on negativity, and those campaigns tend to do less well. It's the ones that go for the dirt attack that win. And that's not a testament to them, it's a testament to us and how easily we can be maneuvered and controlled through hearing negative information over and over about a potential candidate. You guys in the chat room, is Hillary going to win? And if not, who is going to win? Knowing what you know right now about the candidates, who's going to win and why? I don't know. I'll tell you, somebody I like from the right is Marco Rubio, and I have to learn more about him. But as far as seeing a potential winner, I'm on the bandwagon here of objective people that just believes Hillary has a lot of momentum and name recognition. But if name recognition is that important, then Jeb Bush should be right up there neck and neck with her, wouldn't you say? We're in a new country now, man. You can't look at this the way we looked at voting in 1950. It's a new world. Ultimately, it's going to be money. It's, again, going to be money that decides probably who's in office, but definitely which direction the country goes in. It's funny because you can take a look at the extreme differences between the leaders of America and coming up through the ranks from Washington on up. And you can see that America itself, economically and even militarily, has been on a pretty linear path. Very predictable, not a lot of jagged movement. So why would that be if the people in charge had such differing political ideas? I mean, with the few exceptions, you pretty much have a very predictable path for America. And that's because money never changed. It never changed. Money drives everything. And it's a shame. But as long as human nature is what it is, and as long as money does what it does, then we can fairly well predict what money is going to do to human nature, and it's going to continue to control it. I say, what did he say? I missed this. Probably Hillary will win, Apocalypse says. Who do you want to win, Apocalypse? Aaron says, I say stand with Rand, but I think they would kill Rand Paul before he came to power, same as Ted Cruz. Yeah. Let's say Hillary drops out. Let's just say Hillary's gone from the equation. Who do you see then? Who do you see in the running then? I think, Jeb Bush has name recognition as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he doesn't have a lot of dirty luggage that he's carrying around. He might be attacked on his policy views, but that's relatively innocuous in my view. I think he would have a pretty good chance. It's unfortunate that we broke away from a system that had a king that was determined through genetics. And we